I was good, YouTube. We're going to run over AMD's earnings really quick. If you've been following AMD, if you've been following me, you know I've been invested in AMD for a while now. It's one of those companies that I'm going to continue to double down in because I believe in the company. I believe in their ability to shake up the space. I think that in the long run, in the long term, yes, they're going to be one of the major players. I think they are number two behind NVIDIA. And of course, we even see Nvidia down big right now. So I think that a lot of people really have to have a long-term perspective when it comes to these stocks. But I don't give you financial advice. I just show you what I'm doing, and I'm still buying. I'm still going to be doubling down. I still believe in Nvidia. I still believe in Nvidia and AMD. For me, it's not one or the other. I think they're both going to be a part of what's going on in the space. I think they're both going to benefit from something like a Project Stargate and the millions and billions of dollars that is going to be poured into the space via infrastructure, via data centers, and all of that stuff. So, me with saying that, let's get into the numbers. Let's get into the numbers. These slides are from their presentation that they just did yesterday in their quarterly earnings report. This is coming from Q4 2024. We're also getting to full year 2024 and a little bit of guidance for Q1 of 2025. And then we'll kind of look at the stock, how it reacted following these earnings, and where it's sitting currently. All right, so growth opportunities when it comes to AMD, as we know, they are big into the data center business. They have their client business unit as well with their AI PCs. They're definitely into gaming, and they're definitely into, as far as computing and all of that stuff. They do inferencing and all of that good stuff. So when you're talking about AMD, I'm just gonna let you know right now. If you want to know a lot about what we're about to get into, we're gonna brush through it because I'm not the expert or the guy to, really dive into the intricacies of the chips, the stacks, the CPUs, GPUs, all of that kind of stuff. So we're gonna go over it because I think it's good to know what's going on and understand it from the perspective of an investor and know how it affects the market, how the market reacts to it, to be able to compare what a competitor is doing to what they're doing and look at, some of the technicalities as far as that's concerned. But if you want to know what the Ryzen chip is and I'm not the guy. I'm just letting you know right now, we look at it from the perspective of investors. So I preface this by saying that. Let's get into it. So, leading edge data center innovation, they have the fastest supercomputer, according to them. They also have AMD Instinct MI300X accelerators in IBM Cloud, bringing AMD Instinct MI300X into IBM Cloud or AI and HPC workloads. They have the AMD Rock M, launched RD Rock M 6.3, continued evolution of open AI software ecosystems. They have the x86 Ecosystem Advisory Group. Industry group will shape the future of the world's most widely used computing architecture. So AMD had an amazing, not just fourth quarter as far as their data center business goes. They had a great year as far as data center business goes, and the data center business, along with their client business segment, is kind of what pushed a lot of their revenue and their margins. Kind of what pushed those two things up, as we'll see once we get more into these slides. But this is what they have going on as far as data centers. Now, expanded consumer and commercial AI PC portfolio. Again, if you do want to know or if you are interested in a lot of these specifics about the chips, the technology, the presentation that they just did in CES during CES goes into a lot of this. They talk about a lot of this. They talk about a lot of the AI PC partnerships with HP, Acer, Lenovo, Asus. They talk about the AMD Ryzen AI Max and Ryzen AI Max Pro. They talk about the AMD Ryzen AI 300s. They talk about the 9950X3D. All of the stuff that's right here on this slide, they talked about at CES. So if you want to know a lot more in detail about these things and when they'll be available, all of that kind of stuff, that is a good resource. I may try to link it down in the comments. I may try to link it not in the comments, in the description of this video. But this is what they have going on as far as the commercial AIPC consumer business unit segment of their business. So, revenue, this is what we want to see. This is what we want to see. Recorded revenue of $7.7 billion, an increase of 24% year over year. Revenue growth in data center and client segments, partially offset by lower revenue in gaming embedded segments. So, like we see, that data center business and the client segment is driving up the numbers, is driving the revenue. Q4 2023, $6.2 billion, up 24% year over year to $7.7 billion in Q4 2024. So that's when we want to see the company is becoming more profitable. They're generating more money. Growth margins, GAAP. For those of you who don't know what GAAP stands for generally accepted accounting practices, and then you have non-GAAP, which leaves out, certain things. So I like to pay more attention to GAAP, but sometimes they list both. I focus on GAAP. Other investors may focus on one or the other. They may focus on both, but we have both numbers, so we'll talk about them both. GAAP Q4 2023 gross margins were 47%. We are up Q4 2024, 51%. Non-GAAP Q4 2023, 51%. Q4 up 54%. So whether you're using GAAP or non-GAAP, those gross margins are increasing, and that's what we want to see. The gross margins are increasing. The company is keeping more of the profits. The revenue is increasing. That's what we want to see. The company is generating more money through the data center business, as they spoke about. Operating income. Q4 2023 was $3 billion. Q4 2024 is up $0.9 billion. Non-GAAP Q4 2023 1.4. Q4 2024 $2 billion. As you can see, again, whether you're looking at GAAP or non-GAAP, the operating income hasn't went up as well, which, the operating income driven by higher revenue and gross margins. So this is what you want to see when you're looking at your company. You want to see higher revenues. You want to see that earnings per share increase. You want to see the margins increase. You want to see that operating income increase. So far, looking at their earnings, it's good. It's a good news. Just looking at the money, not just looking at the numbers, looking at the fundamentals, this is what you want to see from a company. Earnings per share, GAAP. Let me see, what is this? Okay. Earnings per share in Q4 2023 increased 41%. Q4 in 2024, they only went up 29%. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Non-GAAP Q4 2023 went up 77%. Q4 2024 went up $1.09. But, granted, we don't want to see the earnings per share go down ideally, but can't complain. Can't complain. Revenue, full year 2024, record revenue of $25.8 billion, 14% up year over year from full year 2023 of $22.7 billion. Again, data center and client segments, responsible for a lot of this increase. Gross margins, full year 2024, as you can see, 2023 full year 2024 up 3%, 46 to 49. Non-GAAP up 3%, 50% to 53%, 2023 to 2024 year over year. That's what you want to see. You want to see all of those things increase. Operating income, more of the same. Different slides, more of the same. Full year 2024 operating income up $4 billion to $1.9 billion. That's an explosion. That's big. That's really big. That's really big. And you wouldn't have thought that because in 2024, the stock has not performed well over the last, 10 months? Stock has not performed well. Earnings per share full year 2024 went from 53%, full year 2020, 53 cents, full year 2023 up to $1 full year 2024. Non-GAAP, $2.65 to $3.31. So that's good. That's good. That earnings per share rose. That earnings per share rose 47 cents up to $1. That's what you want to see. So Q4 2024 summary. Now, you would think the numbers we went over, those are good numbers. Those are good numbers. I'm not upset with those numbers. We've seen companies have much worse numbers. We've seen companies not beat earnings and their stock price did what it was supposed to do. It went up. We had companies like a Palantir, you know, that had similar growth, and we've seen their stock explode following earnings. Summary Q4 2024 record revenue 7.7 billion, up 24% year over year. Data center segment revenue 3.9 billion, up 69% year over year. Gross margin 51%. Non-GAAP gross margin 54%. Earnings per share for the quarter 29 cents. Non-GAAP earnings per share 109. You go into full year 2024 summary. Again, a record revenue 25.8 billion, up 14% year over year. Data center segment revenue up 94% year over year. Client up 52% year over year. Gross margin 49%. Non-GAAP 53%. EPS $1. Non-GAAP EPS 331. These are good numbers. This is what you want to see. Things are going up. The company is generating more revenue. The margins are going up. The operating income is going up. The earnings per share is going up. Data center business is doing good. That's what you want to see. And me as a long-term investor, I expect more of this because, like I said before, I think they will see some residual and I think they will gain some benefit from things like a Project Stargate, from all of the millions and billions of dollars that is going to be poured into infrastructure, that is going to be poured into data centers, GPUs, CPUs. AMD is going to be one of those companies that benefit. I believe in NVIDIA and AMD. To me, as an investor, it doesn't have to be one or the other. I'm invested in both, and I'm going to continue to invest in both, especially while they are both hurting at the moment. Nvidia's not doing too well. Nvidia's not doing too well either. Nvidia's not doing too well either. They are actually down as well. But I'm still going to be buying because I believe in these companies long term. They aren't going anywhere. So, with that being said, let's look at some financial outlook. And this is non-GAAP. These are estimations. This is guidance. Q1 2025 revenue of 7.1 billion plus or minus 300 million. Gross margin 54%. Operating expenses 2.1 billion. Interest expenses and other income 24 billion. Yada yada yada. So, company's doing good financially. Company's growing. The data center business is growing. Revenues are growing. Margins are going up. The company's doing well. They're innovating. They're making partnerships. It's just that Nvidia is still number one. Nvidia is still number one. Nvidia is also on sale right now. So I can understand the argument of people wanting to buy Nvidia over AMD, but I'm going to be buying both. So now let's kind of look at what happened with the stock price following these earnings. So we'll look at this 5-day. And what is this? Okay, this is earnings. This is earnings. Can I explode this? I think that's too big. I think that's too big. All right, let me just do it like this. Okay, so earnings came out. Earnings came out, and the stock price was, I believe, stock price was at market close. We were here. Market close, we were down in here. Market close, we were down here. Earnings come out, the stock price shoots up a little bit, all the way up. The stock price shoots up a little bit before plummeting. As you can see, this is after earnings. Now you may say, we just read off those numbers, and the numbers are good. Numbers are good. They beat some analyst expectations. Granted, data center business, really didn't smash expectations, but data center business is doing good. Record revenues, operating income is going up, margins are going up. They're innovating. What's the problem? Well, AMD is just one of those stocks, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say. You just gotta deal with the ups and the downs. The same way I don't understand why Nvidia is down, because of DeepSeek and other worries and outside forces. Because as we know, the demand for Nvidia's chips hasn't went anywhere. The capex spend in regards to these companies, when we're talking about chips and infrastructure and data centers, it hasn't went anywhere. So when you're talking about Nvidia, when you're talking about an AMD, I don't understand it. I don't know, but I do know that I'm going to continue to buy. I'm going to continue to have strong convictions. I'm going to continue to believe in the fundamentals and the financials and what these companies provide to the space. And that's all I can tell you. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you, you know, what to do. And this is why I talked about investor identity and knowing, you know, what's my risk tolerance? What's my risk tolerance? And this is why I don't tell people what to buy. I just show you what I'm doing, and you can make your own educated decisions. Because I wouldn't want to tell you, hey, go buy AMD, and you can't handle the risk associated with an AMD. Look at that. If I told you to buy, if I told you, hey, buy at this price, do this, do this, do this, and then it goes down, you're gonna be mad at me. That's why I don't do it. But for me, I was buying here, I was buying down here, and I'm gonna be buying down here because if I believed in it up here, why would I not believe in it down here? That's just my way of thinking. That's my risk tolerance, from the research that I've done, and that's how I feel about these companies. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I still believe that in the long term, AMD is going to be one of them ones. Nvidia is going to be one of them ones. And I don't really have an issue with AMD's earnings. I don't really have an issue with AMD's earnings. I thought they were okay. Were they just absolutely fantastic? Blow us away? No. Were they good? Were they acceptable earnings? Yes. I'm fine with the numbers. But the stock market wasn't happy with it, man. But we know the stock market is volatile anyway right now. We know things are kind of tricky right now anyway in regards to the space. It started with DeepSeek, and then we have the trade war and the terror. We just have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the market, and people are pulling the trigger, when it comes to selling off on various different types of investments. And AI has been extremely volatile right now. Semiconductor chip stocks have been extremely volatile right now. And let's look at it. Let's look at Nvidia real quick before we get out of here. Okay, Nvidia is actually rebounding. Nvidia is rebounding, but you see, they had some big drops too. They've been in the red. They've been dropping too. Some very sharp drops. Very sharp drops. But they're rebounding. They're rebounding. They're doing okay. And honestly, I expect the same thing from AMD over time. I expect AMD to start rebounding as well, and they already are. They already are. But that's it for today. That's AMD's earnings. Really quick. Not really going too deep into just the numbers and doing all that. I know most people don't want to hear about that, but you get the point. You get the point. You see the numbers. You see what's going on with AMD. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.